The ones not in here today, they get it later. This is Derrick Hayes here live from Columbus, Georgia. I told you when I first started, I was going to bring you the biggest names in the game. This is Life School, where we tie life skills into your life school. My mom was raised in White Plains, New York. My father was born and raised in money earning Mount Vernon. When I was a young kid, I used to dream of being a hip hop star. And one song that I wrote that my friend would never let me forget is I'm Not From New York. So I'm born and raised in Illinois, but I always have some New York blood in me. And I told you I was going to start interviewing people. I just spoke it into my life. And today I'm interviewing a CEO, a female empowerment entrepreneur from New York City named Michele Hall, the CEO of Encourage Kids Foundation. How are you doing today?
I'm doing really, really great, Derek. Thank you for having me on your show.
Oh, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. Well, this is life skill, life school. Different topics. Sometimes we just take a word or even a letter. Like the S is, you full of S, but we talking about S's in service. S's in sacrifice. And then another time we got to get people off E, off empty. And some people said empathy would get them off E. Or some people said excellence would get them off E. So it's just a blessing to be in your presence. Before we get into our main topics of COVID and the virtual handshake and the serving of smiles, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself? Because you have an incredible story. A little bit about
Oh,
yourself and who you are and what you do.
yes. Oh, thank you so much. Well, like you said, I am the president and CEO of Encourage Kids Foundation. And Encourage Kids Foundation has been around for 35 years. 35 years of servicing children with every type of illness and helping them in the hospital setting. So that has been my life's work. I love it. I have been, like I said, with the organization as an employee for 25 years, but I started as a volunteer 4 years before that. So I'll tell you a little bit about that story. I was working at a firm that made batteries or something, and they were bought out by another corporation. And they came to me and they said, "Listen, we're closing down the New York office. Do you want to move to Dallas?" And I went down and I visited the Dallas headquarters. And no offense against anybody in Dallas, but it's not New York. It was too flat for me. I like the tall buildings here. And so I decided to take their severance package and volunteer even more at the organization. And so while I was doing that, one of the women there went on maternity leave and they asked me if I would basically step in for her for 3 months. And that was 25 years ago. And now I run the organization. So I always joke to people like, be of service. You never know. You may get a job out of it or a lifelong career.
Right, right. That's why I was, we was talking backstage where I said you was the VIC because you went from,
I love it.
volunteer into being the CEO.
Yep. I like
That's a,
that.
that's a
Yeah.
great story. Like we was talking about the ladder and the lad her. And I think that fits you.
I love that. I love that. I'm gonna use that too, Derek. Don't give me all your good ideas.
Oh no, but look, I always tell people you can't steal what God revealed. Because if you use one, I'm coming back with five.
I love it.
And with COVID, with everything going on throughout the world, New York City is a hub for, what's going on with COVID. How is that affecting you and your organization? And how are things changing? And how do you think they're going to be different when everything comes back to the new normal?
Wow. Well, I talked to you about it from two angles. Number one, the angle, the organizational angle. As you can imagine, um, New York being so hard hit has been traumatic for not only my nonprofit, but other nonprofits as well. We were actually about to have our gala on March 11th, and the day before we had to call it off.
Wow.
And so yeah, it was pretty traumatic for me and for my team. Not only because we had worked so hard for 5 months to pull that event together. It's our largest annual event, but we were going to make money in that room, the money that we used to deliver all of our programs. And so since we weren't able to do that, the bright spot that came out of it was that we donated all the food from the event to the Bowery Mission. So it was an actual joy to take the food from the venue over to the Bowery Mission and to feed the people there. And they were so grateful. And so that was wonderful. And I think it helped us feel a little better about it. But then we had to get back to the office and figure out how we were going to raise more funds, how we were going to deliver our programming. And then at the same time, we had to close the office.
Right.
Because there was this statewide mandate that, people couldn't gather, all of that stuff that we all are so well versed in. So we were trying to continue to deliver the services that we deliver to hospitals. And what the silver lining, another one that's come out of it, is we already have these relationships with hospitals. As everyone knows, we work with them, deliver programs and services and products that they normally wouldn't be able to have because the pediatric budgets are for doctors, nurses, child life specialists, things like that. And now with the COVID-19 crisis, hospitals had to pivot just to be able to take care of the overwhelming number of patients that have come into the hospitals. So that is how we have been helping, and we've done some amazing things. We've made COVID coping kits for kids in the hospital.
That's nice.
And so the way that works, everybody knows the word. We got a lot. You talk about words, like who knew what PPE was right before COVID-19? Nobody knew what PPE was unless you worked in the hospital.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't even want to do PE. So
See, preach. Especially you need to do your PE during COVID.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Most definitely.
So people, you don't know what PPE is, and it's the personal protective equipment that doctors and nurses use when they're interacting with patients. So we all know that in the beginning of this, there was limited amounts of it, which meant that the clowns and the entertainers that we sent to the hospital couldn't go in. All non-essential workers, so to speak, were banned from the hospital. So normally we have clowns entertaining in the hospital, musicians entertaining in the hospital. None of them could come. Kids couldn't go to the playroom because you can't congregate, right? So you're in your room, and this is the real, true meaning of isolation. You're in there, maybe get to keep one parent in there with you. That parent can't move in and out, so everything has to be in that tiny room with you. So our COVID coping kits have all kinds of, I call it like an old school kit that's got Uno cards.
You don't know about that Uno. You don't know about that, Michele.
Right. I wish I could put jacks in it. Jacks is like my new obsession. Teach little kids how to play jacks.
Okay.
We were just trying to bring items, small art kits, anything that could occupy a child all the way up to a teenager while they were stuck in that room without the normal amount of interaction that they get in the hospital setting.
Right.
So we've been doing that. And all other kinds of good things. We're just responding. People called from a hospital in Queens saying that they needed supplies for newborns because, unfortunately, a lot of the essential workers passed away and left their wives with newborn children that just didn't have the necessary items that they needed. So we got on the phone and started connecting donors with those hospitals. So we're doing what we always do, which is fighting.
Right, and I make ties with I have what they call a niche without a stitch. So I make ties without, I don't know how to sew. So I make everything you see is by hand. And so the things I've been doing differently is, thank you for the compliment. The things I've been doing is I have fabric, so I created some face scarves and different things like that. So I always try to help. But one thing I noticed with COVID is people know you from who you are on the inside. And not just who you're on the outside, because even when I had masks on and face scarves on, when I went in certain stores, the people already knew who I was. and the handshakes are different. You may do the you cross the arms, and so that's why I want to ask you about the virtual handshake, because that's something different, another way to give, another way to show love. Can you tell us how that was started?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our marketing consultant came up with it after, we were all brokenhearted about not being able to have our event, right? And he said, you would have shaken over 500 hands that night. You would have talked to a lot of people. Why don't we do something virtually where we create this handshake challenge, and people can send all types of greetings to each other virtually. And then, if they want, they can donate while they're doing it. And so we planned it to be, basically an indefinite campaign, and with highlights throughout the course of the year. So we started the handshake challenge. We then moved into National High Five Day. We saw people giving each other high fives for $5 and donating to us that way, sending high fives to kids in the hospital, doing namastes, whatever type of greeting. My favorite now is like Wakanda Forever. That's my new favorite one, right?
No, you're gonna mess around. That's gonna be a dance.
Right? You can just do the whole thing,
Yeah.
fist bump, whatever
There
you
you
need to
go.
do. So that's what we've been doing.
And
And
what are is there any hashtags for that?
yeah, hashtag VHC Handshake Challenge. That's
Okay,
it. And if you
okay.
go to our website at encouragedkids.org, you can look right at all the handshake challenges that people have been doing. We posted some of them up on YouTube. Like I said, high fives, all kinds of other creative things. And we're moving into Handshake Day in June. So everybody needs to stay tuned to see what people come up with.
Okay, that's a blessing.
Things out there.
That's a blessing. I'm the encouragement speaker at times, and you work with it, encourage kids. We see we Tuesday was on E, and today we in encouragement.
I love it.
That, hey, it's a blessing. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. And I'm smiling because I know you got a aspect of what you're doing called serving up smiles, and that's what we love to do.
Yeah.
Tell us about that sunshine.
Serving Up Smiles is one of our newer events. It's 5 years old. It is my absolute favorite, Derrick, because I get to eat my way through that thing. And so
Okay.
what happens is we bring some of the best chefs in New York um, to Chelsea Piers, and we serve just tons of food to people. And they walk around. It's a tasting event. They walk around the different food stations, and they get to sample some of the best food in New York. All kinds of good wine and drink and music, and it's so much fun because it's not one of those situations. We still have our gala. That kind of, you got to sit in your seat kind of dinner. This isn't that. You can dance. There's a wonderful silent auction. We auction off a whole lot of stuff. And listen, I'm praying and I'm remaining optimistic that we'll be able to do that in October. Hopefully, you talked about what I see for the future with the virus. I'm really hoping that people will remain vigilant individually about themselves, keep themselves healthy, keep other people healthy, so that we can all get back to a new normal. Things are going to be different, but
Yeah.
I think in some ways better than they were before. And people can start congregating again. So we're really hoping to be able to have that Serving Up Smiles event in October at the Pier 1 at
Okay.
Chelsea Piers in Manhattan.
Okay. Hey, that's a good thing. We talked about COVID. We
Yeah.
talked about the virtual handshake.
Yes.
We talked about serving those smiles. Is there anything else that you'd like to leave on the table before we close out?
Wow. I want to say this to everybody. This pandemic has rocked us to our core, but I think that the wonderful thing that has come out of it is everyone trying to help, everyone helping. I appreciate you highlighting me on your show so that I can be the voice for all of the children that are in the hospital all across the country, children that are battling illness. Care still continues for them. They still need us. they are still being diagnosed with all kinds of challenging issues. One of the things that has really been a little disturbing is the way COVID has been showing up for kids. Yeah, first, remember
Right.
in the beginning that kids weren't getting it, and or that they were asymptomatic, and I would make the joke like, keep the little kids away from grandma, they're deadly. But now we're finding out that this is affecting children, and it is very serious. They're coming up with rashes that seem, like not a big deal, and then the next thing you know, a couple weeks later, these kids are entering the hospital and they're having heart issues. This virus it's like just creating serious symptoms in them. There's something called, and I want to get it right, it's called multi-system inflammatory syndrome. One of the things that they're seeing in pediatric facilities that is presenting itself in children. So, I hope that this doesn't become a huge thing. Kids have enough things to battle in their lives. And, I thought that it was a blessing that maybe COVID wasn't affecting them, but now unfortunately it is. So I would encourage everybody, first of all, encouraging people to visit our website and follow us on social media. That is, if that's one ask I can make today, whatever your favorite is, if it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever, go and search Encourage Kids and follow us. We're doing incredible work.
Can you get them the exact website just in case they're lazy out there?
They're lazy, okay.
No, I said just in case. No, I'm not saying they're lazy. I said just in case.